Welcome to the Inner Compass podcast. I'm your host, Alyssa Cotten. I'm on a mission to help female entrepreneurs find and nurture their inner compass by tuning into their mental health, mindset, and personal development. When your inner compass points north, your true north, that's where magic and alignment begins. Having a life filled with possibilities, happiness, and a lot of fun. Abundance is waiting for you. Let's get started with today's episode. Welcome to today's episode. We're going to be talking all about limiting beliefs and how identifying your limiting beliefs are actually going to be the greatest key, your greatest superpower to success. And at first you might be thinking, limiting beliefs, don't they limit us, or they hold us back, or they even block our availability to go after our goals, our dreams, or whatever it may be? And yes, all of that is true. So before I dive into why your limiting beliefs are actually your key to success or even your superpower, I'm going to dive into what a limiting belief is. A limiting belief is a negative thought or even just a negative belief we hold about ourselves, the world, or even other people. And usually these beliefs are so deep-rooted that we're not even aware they are impacting our lives or even our ability to go after our goals. A lot of our limiting beliefs are passed down through generations or even passed down through our peers and our teachers and how our friends interacted with us when we were little and how we interacted with our family members, our caretakers. Those are usually where our limiting beliefs come from. And why the limiting beliefs hinder our abilities, they limit us, they block us, and sometimes they can even prevent us from being successful with our goals. And here are some of the reasons why. The first one is they create a negative self-image. If we believe we are not worthy or deserving, smart enough, good enough, then we are going to potentially block ourselves from experiencing failure or even experiencing disappointment or ridicule. Because we don't want to be seen as not good enough, we won't put ourselves in positions where we could be viewed in a negative way. So let's say, for example, you want to test a new product, you want to take a risk in your business, you want to start posting on social media, but you have this negative self-image of who would listen to me, who would even think I have any value to add. There are so many other people already doing it. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough experience, whatever it is. We tend to be our worst critic because of our limiting beliefs. And those limiting beliefs that are related to our negative self-image, where we are our worst critic, it really prevents us from taking action. And that's where we get to use this as our superpower. So limiting beliefs start in the mind. And what happens is our limiting beliefs create thoughts. And then our thoughts create feelings, and then those feelings really determine if we take action or not. Let's say, for example, your best friend texts you and says, hey, let's get froyo tonight. Your first thought would be, ooh, that's super tasty. And then maybe you're having a feeling of excitement. Then next, what you would do is take action. You might put on an outfit or you might put your comfies on and you go and you meet up with your best friend. So how that maps out in our goals, our vision, our business, and everything that we're doing is our negative thoughts influence our feelings, then ultimately influence our actions. So if we have limiting beliefs, how we view ourselves, how we view our products, our services, our business, our goals, those negative thoughts are going to influence us to have more negative feelings. And when we have more negative feelings, we're less likely to take action. We're less likely to even take messy action. We're less likely to take action when we don't feel prepared. And then what happens is the limiting belief gets really connected to perfectionism, that everything has to be perfect in order for me to put myself out there. Everything has to be perfect in order for me to take action. And those limiting beliefs are just false stories we keep telling ourselves over and over and over again. And what happens is because we've heard these stories for so long, we believe they are true. 99.9% of limiting beliefs are not true. They're not based in reality, but our brain believes they are true. Therefore, through this thing called confirmation bias, our brain is going to look for information to affirm that these limiting beliefs are real, true, and we have evidence to support it. So for example, if you have a limiting belief that I'm not smart enough, your brain is going to constantly look and filter for information to prove that it's true. Maybe you have someone say, oh, that's not correct, or that's wrong, or you might be misinformed. Then your brain is going to say, see, I told you you're not smart enough. You have all this proof. And what we know through confirmation bias, our brain's reticular activating system, basically when our brain needs to filter out information, it can only filter out so much information at one time. So our brain's roadmap is to focus on those limiting beliefs because the brain believes the limiting beliefs are going to protect you and keep you safe from perceived danger or perceived threat. But what we know is limiting beliefs are not going to put us in actual danger. So the brain gets really confused between a perceived threat and an actual near-death experience threat. And what happens is the same part of the brain gets activated when we feel fear, as if we are feeling fear in the real presence of danger. And so the brain doesn't know the difference, and so the limiting beliefs are triggering the same part of the brain as if you were to have a near-death experience. And now we're like, okay, that makes so much sense that the limiting beliefs are not only limiting me, but they're really telling my brain, danger, danger, danger. So every time I get close to, let's say I want to post on social media, and every time I get close, all of a sudden my brain's like, I've got to do laundry. Man, I should really check those emails. Oh, I think I want to start a new project of decluttering. And your brain is going to do whatever you need to do to distract you from getting your goals achieved because it has that perceived fear of, I need to keep you safe. So the limiting beliefs limit our potential because our brain is now filtered to see the glass as half empty, and the brain is filtering all of this information that I don't want to put you in danger. So if I think that these limiting beliefs are true, I'm going to block you from going over the next step. And what I mean by our limiting beliefs being our superpower, if we can identify and find out what our limiting beliefs are, what we believe to be true, then we've got a roadmap of what we need to clear or heal or resolve, so that way we don't have any blocks or barriers. So think of limiting beliefs like Mario Kart. Obviously that movie just came out recently, and if you've ever played Mario Kart, let's just say you're doing the racing game, and limiting beliefs are all of the things that block you. That might be the banana, that might be the hard shell, that might be the little ink thing that blocks you from going faster. That's what limiting beliefs do. We're like trying to swerve out of the way, but they intentionally slow us down from hitting that finish line. So when we get to release and heal those limiting beliefs, as we go back to that video game, when you get the little toad mushroom and it gives you superpowers, or when you get the star and it gives you like superpower strength and you can go through fast and there are no limiting beliefs in your path and you're able to bypass everyone that's near you on the road, that is what happens when we heal and release the limiting beliefs. But so often we're in denial that the limiting beliefs exist in the first place. And if we're in denial that we have limiting beliefs, we're unable to release them because we don't believe they're there. And everyone has limiting beliefs, but we have the power to release them and heal them. So I'm going to go over some common limiting beliefs that you might be experiencing and that might resonate with you. So the first one that I experience with all of my clients is, I am not good enough. And this is a very common limiting belief, especially if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a content creator, or even an executive, because we believe that someone else is better. Therefore, who am I to put myself out there and try to do something new, creative, or different if I'm not good enough? And that limiting belief really allows us and kind of blocks us from being creative, inspirational, and even motivating and productive, because we believe the kind of, why bother? I'm not good enough. My content's not good enough. My products aren't good enough. My work's not good enough. So it doesn't make sense. So the next one is, I don't deserve success. And this can be really seen, for example, if you were a small child and your classmates were smarter than you and the teacher would give them accolades of so-and-so got a gold star today or so-and-so got the green. I'll never forget in elementary school we had these cards of yellow, red, or green, and depending on our behavior, we either had a green card, a yellow card, which means we got a warning, and red means we're in trouble, we have to talk to our parents when we got home. And it was really shaming. So it was this whole scoring system of, you got a green card today, so that means you are good. And we would shame each other to try and be even good, better, and all those other things. So that can really hinder your abilities to believe you deserve success, because if you grew up and everyone said that you're bad or you're annoying or you're a know-it-all and all of these things to limit you, you might believe that that identity is true today. So what happens with that belief of I don't deserve success is you start to self-sabotage and you believe that you're not worthy of happiness or abundance, and you will hit your upper limit, which basically means I don't believe that things can get even better. So we self-sabotage. And I recently just did a masterclass, and you can check out the show notes below if you want to watch that. And in the masterclass, I talk about the window of tolerance, our zone of genius. And limiting beliefs kick us out of our zone of genius. And if we don't do any active actions to get back into our zone of genius, we are constantly in a state of either anxiety or depression. We're going back and forth between those two emotional states. So another limiting belief that we tend to experience is I'm too old or I'm too young. Society puts so much pressure on us to be a certain age of when we have children, be a certain age of when you get married, be a certain age of when you start a career. And anytime we change that status quo, we believe that we're either not old enough or we're not, or we're too old or we're too young. And whatever that is, it blocks us because we believe we're going to get judged for putting ourselves out there. And if we get judged for putting ourselves out there, we're afraid of what will happen, and the brain is like, nope, I gotta pump the brakes. Another one is I'm not smart enough. This can be seen if you have any academic wounds. And what academic wounds are is if a teacher, a classmate, someone in authority made fun of you, teased you, belittled you, told you you weren't smart enough. My high school guidance counselor actually told me that I would never graduate high school because of my test scores. And at the school that I went to, you had to take this high school qualifying exam, and if you didn't pass the exam, you just got a certificate of attendance. You didn't actually get a high school diploma. So he installed this limiting belief in me that I'm not smart enough, so I believed that I wasn't smart enough, and I had to take these after-school classes to prepare for this test, and I started test anxiety. I installed in me this test anxiety. And I never had test anxiety until that guidance counselor told me that I would never graduate high school. Long story short, I ended up graduating. I ended up passing the high school exam first time around. I didn't even need to take a second try. But that limiting belief really hindered my ability to believe I was smart enough. So when I went to college, I believed that I wasn't a good test taker based off what my old teachers would tell me. So I ended up having to get special accommodations for my test anxiety. I would have to go into special rooms and take the tests alone because I would get really triggered by seeing other students complete faster than me. Or an actual really interesting trigger I used to experience is when students would raise their hand during a test and they would ask questions. And I used to think, oh my gosh, is there something wrong with me that I'm not asking the teacher a question? Should I have, did I miss something? And so those evidence, my brain picked up, that's more evidence that I'm not smart enough. And what we get to do with this information is heal those wounds that installed that limiting belief in the first place. So I worked with my EFT practitioner on those limiting beliefs and that fear that I'm not smart enough based off what my teachers had shared or even what my peers had shared. I'll never forget, I was also one time in 9th grade science class, and it was just basic 9th grade science. It wasn't biology or anything like that. And there was these two girls sitting in front of me, and the teacher said, oh, you two girls are way too smart for Science 9. You guys should be in biology. I'm going to transfer you. And looking back, I'm thinking, wow, how awful that this professor, he was this high school teacher, decided to shame everyone in the class for quote unquote not being smart enough, and that he wanted to highlight how smart these other two girls were. And because they were so smart, they were going to skip ninth grade science and go right to biology. It's just so fascinating how all of these things, you look back and you're like, what an interesting, they could have easily pulled those girls aside after class or pulled them aside during class, or, like had a meeting after school. So it's not like this public display of how smart they are. But I'm saying all of this because we have all of these experiences throughout our life where our brain is constantly filtering information, trying to either decipher, is this information nurturing my limiting belief or is it challenging it? And the brain does not like things to challenge our limiting beliefs because the brain believes limiting beliefs are designed to keep us safe. For example, we go back to hunter-gatherer lifestyle, and if I have a limiting belief that there's not enough food, I'm going to constantly look for more food. And anything that challenges that, if someone says, hey, we've got plenty of food, and we end up not having enough food for winter, right, the brain's like, we cannot trust anyone to challenge it. So anyone who's doing mindset work or healing their limiting beliefs, you might feel more resistance in the beginning because the brain is constantly trying to push back on anything that is challenging the status quo. So 2 other limiting beliefs that we experience are I don't have enough resources, such as I don't have enough time, money, support, connections, network, and I'm going to be disappointed along the way because I don't have a leg up versus someone else. And another one that is huge is I'm not lucky. Man, this is just my luck is a common one that I hear. And we believe that bad things are meant for us and I'm not lucky enough to have good things come my way. So those are some examples. Obviously, there are hundreds more of limiting beliefs, but if any of those limiting beliefs resonate with you, use that as your superpower. So the next thing you're going to do is, now that you've identified maybe what your limiting belief is or what holds you back or stories that you've been told about yourself that are not true, you get to identify your limiting belief. Then we can say, all right, how has this limiting belief served me? Like, why did I create this limiting belief in the first place? So for me, I believed I wasn't smart enough, and so how I kind of nurtured that limiting belief is I would study twice as hard as all of my classmates. I would hire tutors, I would go to the writing lab, I would stay after class and go to office hours and all of that, and then I would get better grades. And so my brain would say, see, you aren't smart enough, therefore you have to do all this extra work. But if I would have just healed that academic wound back then, I could have had more free time. I probably would have gotten the same grades, but I had this belief that I need to work twice as hard. So when we identify our limiting beliefs, we can go back to the root of where they came from. We can heal it through EFT tapping, through EMDR. There are so many modalities that we can do to heal that. And when we heal those limiting beliefs, the most magical thing happens. We rewire the brain. So the brain is going to be rewired through what I've talked about before. It's called neuroplasticity, which basically means the brain is kind of like Jell-O or butter. It's like moldable. We can move it. We can make new belief systems and new pathways. So the brain is no longer saying, I'm not good enough. The brain is saying, I know enough information to be successful. And how much more empowering does that statement sound versus the other one? Incredible work that we can do. So step 1 is identifying those limiting beliefs and identify where they come from. Was this something that maybe your parents struggled with and they just passed it down of like, we're not one of the lucky ones, we're cursed, or life is meant to be hard. So after you've identified your limiting beliefs, the next thing you're going to do is start to challenge them. You're going to start to kind of make some space in them and say, an easy phrase we can say is maybe, just maybe, because sometimes the brain isn't on board with quite challenging them. So we can say, maybe, just maybe, I am smart enough to go after my goals. Maybe, just maybe, everything I desire also desires me. Maybe, just maybe, I do deserve success. Maybe, just maybe, it is safe to feel confident about who I am as a person. Or another phrase you can say is, I'm open to the possibilities. And so what you can say is, I'm open to the possibilities of taking risks, or I'm open to the possibilities of taking actions on my goals. And when we can use that buffer language, it really helps the brain say, all right, I am open to getting on board with that. So that's a really easy way to challenge our thoughts, and then we can use that to reframe them. So what I want you to try, and we can kind of remind ourselves throughout the day, is you can tune your brain by checking into your thoughts. So what you can do is set reminders on your phone, or if you have a smartwatch, or on your calendar, and basically you're just going to check in with your thoughts. And anytime you are aware of your limiting beliefs or your negative thoughts, what you're going to do is actually say thank you for the unnecessary thought. And when you are saying thank you for the unnecessary thought, your brain is saying, whoa, 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 I don't have time for unnecessary thoughts. Maybe I should file that in the unnecessary category, which then frees up real, true, healthy thoughts. So again, anytime you have a negative belief or a negative thought that comes forward, you're just going to say thank you for the unnecessary thought. And as we think about that, it's kind of funny and kind of silly, but what you can do is go back and think, if you were at a restaurant and the waiter gave you 10 forks, you might be thinking, okay, I am sometimes a people pleaser, so I'm not going to tell them no thank you, but what I might say to myself is thank you for the unnecessary fork. So you're going to do the same thing for your brain, and that's going to just help you snap out of that negative spiral of that limiting belief. So again, thank you for the unnecessary thought, and then take action on your goals. Now that we've identified those limiting beliefs have been holding you back, we've got the superpower, because that's the only thing that's stopping you from taking action. So now what you can do is start taking action, and even small action is still action, or even, as my friend says, messy action is better than no action. And taking action is going to challenge those limiting beliefs. But when you find proof that taking action is easy and natural and in alignment with your big vision, you're going to start to see that momentum and the motivation is going to naturally expand, because we've got proof that taking action is fun and easy and in alignment. I am obsessed with talking about limiting beliefs because they are your superpower. When you can release those limiting beliefs and those stories and those narratives that you've been telling yourself for years and years and years, you make so much room for possibility. And when we have hope for the future and we have compelling ideas for the future, we are no longer in our way, and we can find a solution to every problem we face. Thank you for tuning in today's episode. Just remember, you can release any limiting belief, you can challenge it. EFT and EMDR are one of the easiest ways to challenge limiting beliefs, because you are worthy and deserving of everything you desire, and I can't wait to see you in next week's episode. Have an amazing day. Thank you for tuning into today's episode. If you're looking for more guidance as you nurture and tune into your inner compass, check out the show notes below to learn how to join the membership Inner Compass support, or even get some one-on-one support on your journey.